it's like pointy like that. Pointy mountains like that. And then you don't know that there's an ocean and like water around it. So. Mesa Verde National Park. We're experiencing Colorado, and we got to see New Mexico before we go back to AZ. So I'm searching for land, and I'm not saying where, but I am looking for land somewhere to buy in 3 different states, but there are 3 states that we actually have been experiencing for a couple days, just having fun, that are near Arizona. So yeah, but I just experienced some really free areas in AZ and a couple other states that I visited recently with my son. He's been having so much fun traveling. Like, he's turned into a completely different child since Washington, just because of his experiences and like just the stuff he's gotten to do, you know? Different laws and different rules in different states. It's just cool to experience. With me buying land, I want to buy a horse and have a stable built, because so much in my life, just within a few days, have changed. A lot has changed. And I just keep putting in the work, and it's just, I don't know, getting more crazy. So I recently went through a moment where I kind of wasn't fully connecting with myself because I was so worried about all this other shit, you know? And it made me stray away from what I was put on this earth to do, which was my mission, you know, of seeking within myself. So yeah, you know, it's easy to get caught back in victim mode, you know, where you're kind of blaming everything outside of you for why you're miserable and not happy and stuff like that. And it's easy to get caught in that. It really is. You know, you'll do that for as long as you want, as long as you don't want to find peace. You know, when you're ready to find peace, kind of surrender to all your rules and regulations and shit like that. You know, kind of surrender to your ego and things. So yeah, the way that I pulled myself out of that was honestly just regrouping and locating my feelings, not the memory, you know, of what was haunting me, what was bothering me. When you locate the feeling with no identity attached, no expectation, and just no identity, you know, and you just let yourself feel that emotion, whatever you feel all day, you know, kind of runs your day, like the anxiety or sadness or anger, you know, which usually sadness is under anger, you know. You'll notice you can't really be angry too long. You can't visit the feeling of anger for too long if you don't have identity attached, because your identity is what kind of, your constant need of identifying with your identity is what constantly feeds your ego. So yeah, so it's hard to actually visit anger for super long without it turning to sadness, because anger takes a lot of ego, you know. But if you let yourself sit in your ego without identifying with it, without letting it tell you things that make you go, yeah, you're right, rather than I hear you, but I have a calling over here, you'll notice something really magical happens with that. So, you should try it. Whatever you're feeling. Even if it is anger, it'll just be for a little bit of time, but you're not doing it so that it'll leave. You're doing it so that you can just feel yourself for once. Because what a lot of people do is they suppress it, and then they let a personality form out of that, rather than letting the universe work through them and letting themselves feel their emotions, letting their emotions be seen without caring what people think, and seeing what type of confidence and connection to the universe grows by doing that, because it's different. And a lot of people can't relate with that place because they're so used to creating coherence around their thoughts. Your thoughts tell you something, you go with it, usually, rather than your thoughts telling you something and you saying, yeah, I hear you, but, I have a calling over here. I have something I need to do over here. I'm consciousness. I see you. I hear you. I don't know. There's something so liberating about owning who you are and the things you do and the choices you make and just everything about you. I love that. So, yeah, I've basically been spending a lot of time just remembering everything I've learned and unlearned. And yeah, so you could stash your weed in there wherever you go. Just make sure it's legal. No, it should be. Should be everywhere. But yeah, you could stash it in there, and then it comes with the little stick to poke the hole inside of here, just in case if your weed, because a lot of weed buds have like wax on the edges, kind of like it's really sticky. So it'll stick to your glass on the inside and kind of form a big glob in the hole that it's supposed to smoke through. So it gives you they gave me a little stick so that you can just boop. No, I'm just kidding. So you could poke a hole in it. And there's a lot of things that I need to get rid of, that I'm ready to cut out of my life. And they're really big things, but I'm ready to do it. I feel anxiety build when I think about keeping these things around, to the point where I could cry. And that's enough for me to let them go. Because there was one point where I feared letting them go because I didn't want to, be alone, or I didn't want to think that there was anything better out there in the aspects that I'm talking about. But I've just been experiencing too high, of states of consciousness to keep certain things around that are not for me anymore. If I engage in a frequency that is lower than mine, it really, really, truly drains me. And I feel like there's no part of you that can be hurt, because consciousness can't be hurt. It can only experience, the idea of pain. But, I don't know. I can't keep certain things around. But I can feel it affect me instantly. And before, I used to love that place, that I've been manifesting financially in a huge way. I mean, massive way, just out of nowhere. And in different forms, you know. And so, yeah, I feel so blessed. And I feel like I just want to speak this more to you guys, because the more that happens to me and the more I experience, the more I want to share everything with you and make you believe. And I don't even want to force anyone to believe. I just want to enlighten people, that's all, about my experiences. Because it's a real thing. You know, the only reason why people have anxiety and have those feelings is because they don't want to look at what caused it in the first place for too long. They don't want to look at the trauma for too long. And nobody knows what can happen, you know, if they look at it for a long enough period of time. We only know what we feel when we suppress it, you know. We do things to make ourselves feel better so that we don't have to face it. We're told, you know, facing it is, so we think it's bad or something. But I have faced every single traumatic event in my life, and it has really transformed me. And it's helped me, you know, disinvest time and attention into my ego. And so when I feel anger or whatever, I let that out. I express that. I don't care, you know, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. Because, like I said, I did the inner work on my own. I decided to seek on my own. I went through a lot of stuff on my own. And that just grew my belief in the universe times 10. So when you face it, it's an amazing feeling. I need help, bro. Let me take cover. Block my shit. How long is this fucking video? It's pretty long to me.